Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again with another irrelevant video and build for a league that is about to come out, which has a completely different passive tree and set of skills that are probably going to be good, but whatever. I decided to, at the very end of the league, still speedrun one more character just before it, all went tits up, and we decided to do Scourge Arrow. It's something I haven't done in a while, maybe a couple of years, and the last Scourge Arrow I did was a Pathfinder with Darkscorn using Chaos stacking, and it was a very thick character with very good DPS. This one is maybe half of that. Maybe. I don't know. I can't really remember the DPS or anything, but there was less content back then. Either way, this did take on all the content available to it, except for Wave 20 Simulacrum, and it is based around ward mechanic. So the ward mechanic using the ward gloves I used earlier this league gives you 25% of your maximum ward as chaos damage. In this case, you can see that I have about 2,000 ward and 3,000 when my flask is up, so that is equivalent to about 500 to 700 or so chaos damage at all times. And that is a pretty large amount of extra damage on top of using the added Chaos Awaken support, which is maybe 200 to 300 added Chaos or so. And then we just craft a bow that has a bunch of Chaos.multi and some attack speed. Though you can very easily still go a Darkscorn method, and that's probably going to be more of a realistic outcome for most people, especially because the crafting of this bow is rather simple, but it does take a bit of extra currency to begin with, and fossils and a bit of meta crafting, all of that. I think the Darkscorn version of this build is probably still fairly starter-fiable. Basically, just go with whatever fizz bows you can get, use an added chaos support, and then become a Pathfinder. And honestly, should still take should yield some pretty good results in the new Scourge League as well. Though it's probably not going to be any real Toxic Rain type starter that almost everyone will be playing or thinks is the best, because Toxic Rain is basically just unbeatable. Like, from a mechanical standpoint, it's so goddamn smooth. It's as if Scourge Arrow was always firing at 5 stacks without having to channel. That's the kind of effectiveness we're talking, and that is the biggest drawback of Scourge Arrow after having played it for a few days. Basically, getting to the 5 stack threshold where you wind up through your channel, get to 5 stacks and unleash takes a little bit too long, and it makes you a bit too vulnerable in many settings, and if you're not doing it, then you are not maximizing your DPS. So it's not too much of a problem with a lot of general content, and as you can see, I was running very thick maps. I was juicing every single map I was running as I was trying to speedrun, and took like 15 hours to hit level 90 and take on all my content. It's pretty apparent that you don't really get enough attack speed, even though I tried to. You don't get enough attack speed very naturally to get to 5 stacks comfortably, and then we're losing a lot of the DPS that we would otherwise have potentially. So the theoretical DPS is pretty good, but in practice, in a lot of the boss fights, you don't really get to sit around for too long and get to 5 stacks, and it does just mean that you're not maximizing your output. Whereas the Toxic Rain, in the exact same sort of a setup, probably just much more fluid. Either way, had a lot of fun with this, and Pathfinder Prolif for poison is insane, so definitely look into that for your poison builds, especially for the new poison concoction, whatever it is, the new flask throw. I think Pathfinder as a starter for that. I'll probably put one up personally, but I think that should go real nice and should scale well off of itself. So this character is just kind of showing you what Scourge Arrow can still do. It's still very fun, still very viable, and Darkscorn should be a good build for the Scourge Arrow in the end without too much gear. That said, I do still want to show you the final boss fight that came of this. I ended up playing this character right down to the last second of the league. We're talking I was running out of minutes and seconds to finish my boss kills, and I managed to still get the feared down with like a minute of the league to go, which was the final test for this character, and then a double corrupt on my bow, which was probably the best chaos dot bow on the server at the time, because we got pretty lucky with some crafting. So I'll go ahead and show you how the character's built, and then the final few minutes of the league with the feared fight. So here I am on standard already with the character level 91, what a Scourge is. To get through all of our content, 17 hours, hit level 91, and did pretty much all of the endgame available that I could manage at the time. And I still did a lot of crafting, so you can speedrun these characters much faster, but that was about as fast as I could do while trying to put together an entire character as well. So I currently don't have a bow because, well, the double corrupt right at the last second of the league didn't go well. But what the bow actually looked like was this here, and the main thing we wanted was an Elder Thicket bow that could then get the damage over time multiplier with this weapon, and some added chaos, some attack speed, and then crafting your own chaos damage over time multiplier. So it's pretty simple to do with just aberrant, corroded, and metallic fossils. Eventually you'll hit added chaos and chaos damage over time multi, and then you can just wipe suffixes, make sure you have no suffixes left, and multi-mod for attack speed and chaos damage over time multiplier. But we also managed to hit +1 socketed gems, which is a little bit of extra damage, and on top of that I ended up exalt slamming for a suffix and hit chaos just damage over time multiplier. So then we crafted on the veiled mod, did prefix cannot be changed, veiled mod, got the attack speed, slammed the suffix of damage over time multi, and then crafted chaos damage over time multiplier. So realistically it's only a little bit better with that damage over time multi suffix than a very basic outcome of just like getting the two prefixes and multi-modding. But this is what we're looking for, and I think it's going to be probably just a little bit better than a Darkscorn sort of setup. Less RNG certainly, because Darkscorn has a 20% chance to do a fuck ton more damage. And with this type of a setup, we are pretty much entirely reliant on pure chaos damage from the bow, the gem, and also the gloves. And the gloves in question that we're looking at are Night Grip. I used them before at the start of the league, close to the start of the league, but this is a poison version of the build and a bit different as a Pathfinder. So like I said, that's our ward levels there. It's based off your max ward, doesn't matter if your ward is depleted at the time. And if you press the flask, which we cannot do because we are standing in town, it gets us to about 3000 ward. And as a Pathfinder, it is up fairly frequently. So there you go, about 3000 ward, bunch of extra chaos damage from that. It does, of course, mean you have to go full ward gear, which is kind of annoying and kind of a drawback, since the gear is mostly going to be shit and you can't get life on your gear. So no life there, no life there, teensy bit of life there, a little bit of life, a little bit of life, and a little bit of life. So if you instead went a more classic Darkscorn build without ward sacking, you'd still be hitting like 6k life, and then you'd build it a pretty thick character, I think. But this interpretation is trying to use the ward mechanic, and the ward mechanic is kind of a fail unless you have a lot of dodge and evasion. And in this case, we're about to lose a whole bunch of dodge when coming into the new patch. So just pure evasion, I don't know if ward's going to be something you really build into ever again, but who knows. In any case, basically you just try and get ward gloves, so a bunch of ward max gloves there, ward hat, just using defensive fossils a lot of the time, which is dense fossils, and then this is a breach chest. So turning in 60 breach rings gives you a chest with some special modifiers on it. The only one you're actually caring about is 100% increased global defenses, because that doubles up your ward number. And then whatever else you can get on it. Once you turn in those 60 breach rings, whatever mods you get on the chest cannot be altered, and the chest doesn't keep these mods, so basically what you see is what you get. Of course, you can do some little shenanigans like beast crafting and all that, but the point is it doesn't give you a base that can roll these types of things. It just gives you a base with some modifiers, and that's it. Though, as was teased in the new league, maybe if you can get some good fractured mods from these things, you can actually make some good stuff. We've got Despair Ring there, minus channel cost and everything, and just Chaos Damage over time multi, and I combined with an Awakener Orb, Chaos.multi, and additional arrow, and that was specifically because once you get an additional arrow into Scourge Arrow, it will fire off the pods in a more clustered fashion that have better single target. And yeah, that's why you get one additional arrow in the build, and hopefully that just enhances your single target damage. We're also using ballistas, so in this case 4 extra ballistas that fire off extra Scourge arrows only when they actually hit, so it is a bit of a weird thing. Sorry, not only when they hit. I wasn't really 100% sold on Focus Ballista during the last fight that I was doing, because rarely would they actually get the cast off after you, so Focus Ballista doesn't really seem very potent for this channel playstyle, I think, but that's what I was trying to do. In any case, we had 4 extra ballistas firing off the Scourge arrows from time to time, and that does help our single target, and it is also where I was getting Withering Touch for extra withered stacks on the enemies. So the supports there are Ballista Totem, Withering Touch, Scourge Arrow, Void Manipulation, Focus Ballista, and Added Chaos. The Scourge Arrow links themselves were Scourge Arrow, Mirage Archer, Awaken Deadly Ailments, Awaken Unbound Ailments, Awaken Vicious Proj, and Awakened Added Chaos. For all of that put together, didn't have the best single target, you'll see in just a second, but it was good enough, and like I said, the big problem is we are rarely getting to 5 stacks, just like dabbing here or there, and that's just not enough to get the most out of your skill. In any case, yeah. What else am I using? Withering Step, got Malevolence Aura, Vitality Aura, Herald of Agony. Real quick, nothing else there to mention. And the passive tree, I think, is a pretty basic poison passive tree for a Pathfinder. We did go into phase acro. We do have 2 clusters, a bunch of the poison nodes. That's our mana leech, but the clusters basically serve to get explosions in the build. So unspeakable gifts on both of these. That's the occultist style explosions for the build. I then went for medium dot multis that do whatever they can, bit of damage over time, bit of life on kill, wither, that sort of thing. Went for as many Feast of Flesh as I could for a bit of extra leech and the life on hit, and I went for 1 low tolerance, which you can now get on the passive tree, which is extra damage on non-poison enemies. Really helps to get things killed, especially thanks to the Pathfinder Prolif node. So it's not going to be a full guide or anything. There's no path of building really. This is as much of a guide as I can give you, and of course the passive tree and all that changes a lot in a very shortly amount of time. But Scourge Arrow, definitely viable and an option if you don't want to do the regular Toxic Rains, or as a fallback plan if you do the new Flask skill and then it doesn't turn out to be what you want it to be. You can do Spectral Helix, Cobra Lash, Scourge Arrow, something like that as a fallback plan on a Pathfinder. Real quick, if you want to know what the MTX are, it's the new League Supporter pack, bow, and League Supporter pack as the dark one all across the board, and then Dark Shard Helmet, and we're running the Midnight Pact character effect. And the Skeleton Pet is a Halloween special. Don't know if it's coming back this time around, but it was a limited time only as of last year, I think. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you are setting some plans in motion for the new league. I'm going to leave you with a very intense feared fight. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Okay. Who we got? I suppose Shayula or Itsiri would be my priority. Bottom left. Okay. Decent start, to be honest. Shaper combo with its series, I don't know, decent.
I agree with Matthew. Hi.
It's too loud, man. Dude! Holy fuck! I couldn't move in the end because I had no more bleed flask to cleanse and I had to just like stand still and eat shit. Please die, Siri, you bitch. Is Shaper finally fucking dead? Cause hey, that's something. Don't have much time either, hey. Dude, is it possible? Dodge. Yo, get fucking destroyed. If you doubted. Oh, that feels good. We got no time. I have to go Gumba the fucking thing right now. Best bow in the world, in the fucking universe. No! The league has ended. Oh my god, I got it just in fucking time. That bow was so incredible. And it's dead.